All right, and we're back. Listen, John says in chapter 2, and we're going to look at verse 3 now. I'm going to read down from 3 to 6, all right? So John says that I'm going to give you another proof and assurance of your salvation. He's already given us one. He said, I'm going to give you another proof and assurance of your salvation. Let's look at this one. Look at verse 3. He said, this is how we know that we know him. He's dealing with God. If we keep his commandments. The one who says, I have come to know him, and yet doesn't keep his commands is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, truly in him the love of God is made complete. This is how we know we are in him. The one who says he remains in him should walk just as he walked. And so when you deal with walk just as he walked, we know that they're talking about the person of Jesus Christ. So let's go through and let's break this down. If you're looking at your worksheet, we're at that area dealing with conquerors are committed, okay? So conquerors, the first verse 3 to 5 shares with us that conquerors are committed, watch this, to the word of God. Yes. It says that this is how we know that we know him, if we keep his commands. Jesus says that many will call me Lord, Lord, and yet not do the things that I say. He focuses on that many people that are going to get to heaven. They're going to say, Lord, didn't I do this in your name? Didn't I do that? He's going to say, I never knew you. So how do you know that you know him? How can you be assured that you know Christ and that Christ knows you? He says that we know that we love him if we keep his commandments. That's it. An obedient heart is a proof, is an evidence of our willingness to follow Jesus. He said, the one that says, I have come to know him, and yet doesn't keep his commands. So watch this. You may have people who profess that they know him, and yet not keep his command. So let's talk about this. This could be anybody. It could be anybody. Jesus said there'll be many people who say, did not prophesy in your name. That's what the preachers. Did not heal in your name. Did not cast out demons in your name. He's talking about folk that are operating in ministries in his name. Listen. He's saying that there are those who may know of him, but don't know him personally. They know of him, but they don't know him personally. What I mean by that is, being a married man, there are things that I know and places that I go, right? But there are places that I don't go, and it's not because my wife told me not to go there. I don't go there because I want to honor our relationship. I know places that will make her uncomfortable. I don't go to Hooters. I don't go to the strip clubs. I don't go to places that I know that God would not be pleased, but also places that would either humiliate or disgrace or disrespect my relationship with my wife. So I choose not to go to those places. So here we have that we know, he says that if you keep my commands, we're in a relationship. There are things that how do you know that you know God? There are things in your relationship that are not going, well, they don't have the word strip club in the Bible. It's okay. because of our relationship, I know God, and I know that's a place that God doesn't want me. You see, it's about the fact that I know him and he knows me. Have we fallen down? Sure we have. Have we made mistakes? Sure we have. What do? Confess those mistakes. And then we conquer those mistakes. He says here, how we conquer them is by having a committed heart to follow Jesus. Now, there are, I have a sister, she made an awesome point one day. She was talking about how you have, people that have a past, and, you have this past, and you leave things in the past, you bury things, and you live this new life, and then your past, you leave it in this grave behind you. But she dealt with the fact that there are times you have people that like to dig up graves. That's just a weird hobby. But you have people that like to dig up graves. You have people that like to go back into all of the garbage and all. You have somebody call them in a book I was reading, they call them garbage collectors. And these are people that go around in churches or go around in life just trying to collect people's garbage. Come on, that ain't no life for nobody. Digging up folks passing, there ain't no life for nobody. There are people that do these things. They get some kind of joy out of them. There are people that they dig up your dirt in order to make themselves feel better about their life. Listen, I sure hope you ain't doing that with me, because the only life you need to compare yourself to is the life of Christ. That's what he says. He says it right here. He says, the ones who say that they remain in him should walk as he walked. That is your parallel. That is where you should be focusing your attention on Christ, not looking at your neighbor, not looking at other church members, not looking at seeing how so-and-so is doing it and who's falling here, who's falling there. You've got to look at your own life, and you got to measure that life to Christ to say, Lord, am I living the best I can, walking in the footsteps of Christ? And if not, it's time to make some new choices. It's time to make some new decisions. Leave that old junk behind you. Make some new choices. Make a commitment today. I'm going to walk the straight and narrow way. I'm going to walk a righteous life today. So you can do that at any time. Listen. So I have come to know him. Watch this. There are people that say, I know him, John says, and yet they have no desire to keep any of his commands. They want a title, but they don't want to keep commands. They want privilege, but they don't want to do things God's way. They want support, but they don't want to do things God's way. That ain't right. He said that the way that you know him, when you say that I know him, and yet you do not keep his commands, he says that you are a liar. You're not. Your heart ain't in this thing. It's like a man that purposely, intentionally is abusive toward his wife, or a wife abusive toward her husband, or whatever relationship may be. And then you turn around and say, oh, I love you. And yet I'm purposely, intentionally hurting you, abusing you, talking you down, trying to crush your spirit. There ain't no love in that. Stop that. He says here, he said they're just empty words. When you say that you love Christ, and yet your life is a life that is spent offending him with your sin on purpose. He said, the love is not real. You're lying to me. And why can he say you're lying to me? Because the eyes of the Lord are in every place. The Bible said that man looketh on the outward. You can fool folk on the outside. He said, but God looks at the heart. He sees what your intentions are. That's it. So we realize that we have to be committed to the Word of God. But then the second thing is this. You have to be committed, watch this, to the way of God. I'm going to stop here. You've got to be committed to the way of God. Listen, the way. What is the way? He says, right there, verse 6, the one who says he remains in him should walk just as he walked. You need to follow the path that Christ has laid before you. You should be able to tell people, your family, your wife, your children, follow me as I follow Christ. Let me make this appeal to you today. And this is our segment for this time, but I want to appeal to the family today. I want to appeal to that husband who are up and down. You're going to church, but you're really not. Your heart's not in it. That wife who shows up to church, or that woman that shows up to church only to be seen and counted present. Your heart's really not in it. You're serving only because they won't let you quit. Let's just be real. That you don't want folk talking about you, so you go. I want to talk to you for a second, because I really want you to have a heart that is committed to the way of Christ. Christ said, I didn't come to be served, but I came to serve and to give my life as a ransom for many. I really want you to hold on to these scriptures where John is telling us. John is telling us you can definitely conquer your sin, but your heart has to change. And the heart is not an easy thing to change, but it can change. Your will is not an easy thing to adjust, but it can be adjusted. Your attitude is not an easy thing to shift and adjust, but it can be shifted and it can adjust. We've got to begin to change. We've got to begin to take these scriptures and put them here. We want to be committed to the way of God. Committed to the way of God. And I'm going to leave you with that right there. Let's focus on finding ourselves committed to doing life God's way. I'll see you next time.